let me say a little bit more about the time-directedness, the distinction between past and future in our everyday macroscopic experience. Though that time-directedness can be usefully divided, I think, into three categories. Category one is what I would call the time-directedness of ordinary physical processes. So, paper burns, it never unburns. Smoke disperses in a room, it never collects into the cigarette it came from. Two bodies at different temperatures put in contact with one another, their temperatures will tend to equilibrate, not to move farther apart. Soup in a room, placed in a room temperature room, cools, it doesn't get hotter. An ice cube placed on the floor of a room at room temperature will melt, it won't unmelt. Good. Call those the time asymmetries of ordinary physical processes. Second category, there is a profound asymmetry between the kind of epistemic access we have to the future and the kind of epistemic access we have to the past. Our knowledge of the future is very, very different from our knowledge of the past, okay? If somebody says, I'm thinking of an incident where an egg fell on the floor and splattered in exactly the shape of Argentina, we know this person is talking about the past. That's not the kind of thing we know about the future, or we know with any confidence about the future. It certainly isn't the case that the asymmetry can be made precise by saying we know nothing about the future and much about the past. There's plenty we know about the future. You know, our confidence that the sun is going to rise tomorrow is certainly matches the confidence we have of many things we think we know about the past. There are all sorts of things we think we know to various degrees of confidence about the future. So it's not that our knowledge of the future is zero and our knowledge of the past is extensive. It does seem right to say we know more about the past than we do about the future, or we know in more detail about the past than we do about the future. But there is a puzzle there, which I think we'll come back to a little later, about exactly how even to state that asymmetry. But let's just leave it for the moment at, this is another obvious asymmetry between past and future. The kind of epistemic access we have to the past is very different from the kind of epistemic access we have to the future. Third category of these everyday time asymmetries. We make our way around in the world with a very deep conviction that by acting now, we can affect the future, but we can do nothing about the past. We'll discuss all these in some detail if we have time later on. But it ought to be clear that all of these asymmetries are puzzling when they're put beside this microscopic claim, which we take to be exact and true, that anything that can happen can just as easily, just as much in accord with the fundamental laws of physics, happen backwards. Okay? Good. So that's a slightly longer account of the tension we're confronting here, of what problem it is that we're referring to when we refer to the problem of the direction of time. And I guess we want to talk a little bit today about how to solve this problem, or what people have done by way of coming to grips with this problem or coming to terms with this problem. Good. So let me start off with the aspect of this problem that has been studied in the most detail over the past 130 years or so by physics. That's the tension between the time reversal symmetry of the microscopic laws and this first category of time asymmetries, of time directednesses in our everyday experience of the world, this time directedness of everyday physical processes.